Were you working on the visual effects while it was being filmed, or was principal photography finished when you started?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about kind of what we do. Everybody thinks about it as post-production, but obviously we have the component of, you know, being on set and actually being there when they're filming it. But then there's also the creation of all the assets and everything, which can start as soon as you kind of know what you're doing. And so we were working on, you know, once we found out about it, I mean, very early on, you know, Roger Guyette, who was our overall visual effects supervisor, you know, on the film, and JJ, and we would go down there and read treatments of things and, you know, stay in locked rooms, obviously, and read these things. And you'd get an early sense of what you had to do, and then you'd go back and you'd sort of start working on those things right away. You know, as long as you felt like it was something that you were actually going to be doing, you could start pretty early.
Now, I mean, you've worked on some big projects, obviously, but I mean, Star Wars, this one turned out to be this global phenomenon.
Yeah.
Was there pressure as you were working on it? It's like you got to deliver. This is going to be a global phenomenon.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't put in that way. And obviously, I think the great thing about working at a place like ILM and Lucasfilm and working with people like JJ, the level of professionalism is so high and the level of trust is so high. I think that's one thing that I'm hearing everybody talk tonight. I mean, that's the thing, is no one is micromanaging you. Nobody's telling you explicitly what to do all the time, but they're trusting that you're going to do your job and you're going to do it really well. And that's a lot, that's really the pressure, is that you feel like you're working with these highly creative and really dedicated people, and you just want to, you know, you want to do your part and you want to perform and you want to produce the best possible work, and you know, you don't want to disappoint the fans and everybody as well, and we're fans, and you know, as working at ILM, it's such a history of the company, and there's so many people like Dennis Muren and Scott Farrar and everybody around that, you know, worked on those films, and so there's a tremendous legacy to kind of uphold and keep going. So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of pressure, but it's a good pressure, and I think it brings out the best creative in everybody there. You know, I can't tell you how many versions of everything were tried and thrown away and started again, and it wasn't because those things weren't good, it was because you needed to explore all of that stuff in order to get to the best possible, you know, version. So.
Now, somebody told me, and I don't know if this is true, that in the first 3 Star Wars films, there were there were puppets, there was things on the set that people worked on. For the next 3, it was almost all CGI, and for this one, it was a combination of the two.
Yeah, I think that was the big takeaway from, you know, just wanting these films to feel like you were getting a sequel to those other movies. Like you walked out of, you know, Return of the Jedi, and 30 years passed in the, I guess 30 years passed in the real world and the film world, and you went and you sat down again and you were like watching something that was right in line with those films. And that was the idea, is to try and recreate the feeling of having those real things, and to have puppets, to have real creatures, to have animatronics, to have characters with masks and everything that you would have had on the days when they shot 4, 5, and 6. But don't ignore all the modern, you're crazy to ignore all those modern techniques that we have today that can take your imagination even further. And you know, I have so much respect for George. You know, I've worked at ILM for 16 years, and working with all those people there, and I worked on episode 2 and episode 3 as well. And his drive was always creativity. His drive was always imagination. And he was always thinking, how can I get my vision of what I'm trying to do up on the screen? And, you know, and at the time, that was, you know, we were looking at, he was trying to push technology forward. And if we hadn't done what we did on those films, we would not be where we are today. That's absolutely true. I mean, it really pushed digital effects and digital technology and even digital camera technology forward, because episode 2 was one of the first digital features ever shot. So I have a great respect for just that process of, in the same way that the guys in the 70s, when they were working on Star Wars, said, hey, let's take some risks. Let's do things that have never been done before. And that's what we wanted to keep alive in this, is just that spirit of how can we do it and make it feel like we're trying things that are new, you know, and innovative, and just trying to, you know, merge those two worlds.